Hey, beautiful people. I'm just slipping in between consultations, and I was really nudged and inspired to hop on here and YouTube and share this. It's on the back end of a really inspired and beautiful conversation I had with my dear friend, my soul brother, Matt from Golden Glow Healing. I will put links to his wonderful page within the video and within the description. So we were talking about shadow work, something that maybe potentially is not talked about enough. And you know, listen, stars can't shine without darkness, and at times it takes a shitload of darkness to create that star to fire, ignite and shine. And I think, as we were saying, I think we've got it wrong. Your shadows are there to be met and be befriended, not ripped away. I remember having a conversation with a lady a couple years ago, who just went, I just want it all ripped away from me. I want it all just ripped out of me. And I was like, well, that's a part of you. For they are a part of you, are they not? And in meeting them, we meet the magic. We meet the alchemy. We reverse that spin of consciousness. For those shadows potentially will always alchemize the soul. And if I feel into my own experience for a moment as a guide for you, when I was in my early 20s, I had all these plans. And I had completed an incredible pilgrimage across the Scottish Highlands through the Cairngorm and Grampian Mountains. I had not long been made redundant. There's another video link that we're going to drop into here and into the description. My good friend Matt talking about redundancy and an incredible spirit contact that happened as well. So I was made redundant, and I had completed an incredible pilgrimage across the Scottish Highlands through the Cairngorm and Grampian Mountains. And the thing is, when you take a journey of that nature, at first you're excited, you're like free and you're excited, and you're riding that wave. And then after about 10 days or so, I remember waking up in the middle of the night. I travelled so deep into that wilderness, and I hadn't seen for days upon days upon days a single soul. How many of us in this modern day world can say that? Okay, how many of us have spent that time by ourselves and alone? Okay, and that alchemizes us. So after about 10 days or so traveling deep into that wilderness, not seeing a single soul, I woke up and I was terrified. I literally shit myself, and realized that I just can't run away, or I can't run back. It's like you just kind of wake up, like terrified, and with the deep realization that you are absolutely freaking in the middle of nowhere. You are alone and by yourself. You shit yourself, and then you just want to run back. You just want to run away. You just want to run. And I sat there and thought, fuck, I can't. It's taken me 10 days to walk in to this point. So whatever way you look at it, Shane, you've got to walk your way through this. And you know what? You meet yourself. You meet yourself. For there is no running. It's bloody powerful alchemy right there. And it was so life-changing. I went into those mountains as one person, and I come out another, because you meet you. It was so life-changing. Yet what I didn't realise, there was a deeper teacher lurking in the shadows of my very self. And on my return, which was several months, so I literally have moved through that fear and met myself, and then you know what comes is like a deeper peace. And I met a lot of shadows in those mountains, deep shadows from my childhood, so much. And on my return I had all these plans, and like I say, there was a deeper teacher lurking in the shadows of my very self. So I come back, had all these plans. I joined the reserves, the PWRH, which is an infantry regiment. It was right up my street, running up hilltops with my weight on my back, screaming as we go. You know, I love the challenge of it. I love the band of brothers and the camaraderie that come with it as well. And you know, being out in extreme environments, I loved it. I also wanted to become a wilderness guide, and I'd put that into action to do my mountain leaders course. And the long and short of it, because there is another story, maybe for another time, but in the long and short of it, whilst in, I was diagnosed with a rare inflammatory disease, which then caused me to be discharged and placed under a civilian GP. And I mean, for a very long while, I resented that disease. I was grieving and I was angry. And alongside all of that, all of this kind of awareness was opening up in me that had been there since I'd been young. It kind of got buried, I think. Maybe not, but maybe. And then one day, I remember Spirit saying two things to me. The first, put down the sword. Stop battling and fighting it. As I was angry, right? And I've got this rare inflammatory disease, and I'm angry at it. I talk about feed the fire, fuel the fire. I was battling it. Put down the sword, they said. Stop battling. Stop fighting it, for you're fighting yourself. Befriend it. Meet it. And oh my God, those words were life-changing. As I learned to befriend it, I softened. It softened. And instead of me doing war with it and conflict, it become a teacher. It become a healer. And a powerful one at that. And it's something that lives with me. And all the time I feel I'm alchemizing it a bit more and alchemizing it a bit more. You know, I was told over a decade ago, you're done, you're in a wheelchair, and I'm not. Okay? So when we meet it, instead of doing war with it and conflict with it, it becomes a teacher, it becomes a healer, and a powerful one at that. You see, the thing is, when we look out into people's lives, we can see so much conflict, we can see so much rift, we can see so many arguments, people stuck in loveless marriages, and so much more. And when they look out into the world, they go, why is there all this war? Why is there all this conflict? But truthfully, it's a reflection of the collective human shadow and experience. It's the inner world being projected into the outer. So if all this conflict is going on in the outer world, well, all that conflict is going on inside of us collectively. It's being projected into the outer at a macro and micro level. You see? So we cannot, you know, we just can't just go, right, I'm going to rip that stuff away or battle through it. We are being called to alchemize it through embracing it. So put down the sword. And after all, fighting for peace is like shouting for silence, is it not? And the second thing they said, if you put the same amount of energy you put into others and you put it into yourself, everything would change. And that's what this is about. It's discerning how I move through life, where I add the greatest value, who I move with. That shedding skin, and not so much. Sometimes it can be alchemizing that. So, it's understanding that we've been led away from ourselves, and we've certainly been not taught that these parts of us can be incredible teachers. They can be the very thing that fuels so much. So, a star only begins to realise its true destiny when you sling it into the darkest of places. It becomes the compost for the soul. The pain that fuels greatness. Love to hear your thoughts. Such a really fantastic conversation I had with my dear friend Matt from Golden Glow Healing, and I just feel that sometime soon maybe me and him will sit down and have a chat with you all together. That would be pretty funky as well. So as always, keep shining. I say that so often, do I not? And I think the shine comes from us embracing who we really are and all that rawness. You know, there's some incredible people out there in the world right now that are so embedded into the mainstream, who are able to absolutely sit with their vulnerability and express it, and so many people are gravitating towards it. It's because there's this authentic vulnerability. And there's, you know, when it's authentic and that vulnerability of like, you know, this is me, this is what I've gone through, without kind of that sense of woe, there's great alchemy and great power in that. You know, it inspires, it reaches, it touches, and it can teach us. It can unlock so much within us. There we are, 13 minutes long, so I'm going to leave it all at that. And as I say, as I always say, keep shining, and sending you all so much love.